So we did just start that mid-course maneuver, which again is done about halfway from our starting point of the approach initiation to waypoint 0. This burn helps to fine-tune our approach to ensure we're targeting a precise point 400 meters directly below the station.
Once Dragon arrives at 400 meters below station, it will be at what is known as waypoint 0 and will be the first checkpoint during our approach. The vehicle can hold here at 400 meters, but if all of its systems check out, we can continue the approach to waypoint 0. Now, we are hearing that mid-course maneuver was completed, the next major activity that we have is that approach 0, and about a little bit more than 16 minutes until that point.
Absolutely, and in this view here of the International Space Station, you can make out the solar arrays. Those are those pieces on either side. Now, right now, Dragon is getting its power from its own solar arrays that are found on the trunk of the vehicle. But once it does dock to space station, some umbilicals will be hooked up, which will provide power from the space station. So at that point, Dragon will be configured to be receiving its power from the space station. I have touched on this briefly, but that view of Dragon on the left of the screen there, now it looks like we're getting another view from the space station, and you can see it just barely. It's a white dot coming in. It is hard to tell there with the clouds that are on Earth, but we'll see that grow larger and larger. That is again controlled by one of the flight control positions in Mission Control Houston called Cronus. We're able to position the cameras in a variety of different ways that allow us to get these beautiful views of Dragon as well as the Earth. Kate, you had mentioned we did get some views of Hurricane Ian as it was passing over the United States, but we are able to get some views here of Dragon with that nose cone open like you mentioned.
We're just under 6 minutes until we hit waypoint 1. As we've mentioned before, this movement from waypoint 0 to waypoint 1 will swing Dragon up and out in front of the station. So if you've been watching that capsule, it has been moving slightly in that frame. So it'll move up and in front of the station, and it'll pause at a distance of approximately 220 meters. At that point in time, Dragon will be on what we call the docking axis, which basically means that it's directly in front of the docking port that it will be aiming for. That port is the forward port on node 2, which is the Harmony module, and that's where both of the international docking adapters, or IDAs, are located. Those were installed for new commercial spacecraft flights and any other future spacecraft that also use the international docking standard.
And you could really see in that graphic that was just on your screen how those different burns in this very phased approach really put Dragon into the place that it is now, exactly right in front of the docking adapter. You can really start to make out the International Space Station. You can see the solar arrays there, and even some of the vehicles that are currently docked to the space station. There's right now 4 vehicles docked to the International Space Station. That includes the SpaceX Freedom capsule, which Crew 4 arrived on and will return back home shortly, as well as the Russian Progress 80 and 81 and the Soyuz MS-22. So we are coming up on waypoint 1, which is 220 meters right in front of the space station, and that milestone will put us right in line with the docking axis. So once Dragon reaches that docking access, it will have about 20 hours of power, so it could easily hold there for quite some time and could reattempt to dock if necessary, but everything is really proceeding on track for docking today.
On the big loop, Houston and Hawthorne have pulled go for docking. Confirm visors down and that you are ready for approach 2.
Crew 5, all visors are down. We are ready for approach 2.
Copy Crew 5, visors down. We're going to enable the approach shortly. As a reminder, once Dragon is inside the crew hands-off point, retreat and breakout are not permitted.
Copy.
And you just heard another call from the Corps at MCCX responding to the crew that they are in preparation for docking in just about 13 minutes from now and looking at to arrive at waypoint 2 in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Again, once docked, NASA astronaut Kjell Lindgren will be primed for getting ready for hatch operations. That includes him going to the large hatch on the node 2 forward, giving him access into the pressurized mating adapter.
Shaniqua. Now at this point in time, waypoint 2 is up next, and that will put Dragon only 20 meters away from the space station. From there, the spacecraft will focus on aligning its docking system with the International Docking Adapter, or as you sometimes hear it referred to as the IDA.
And Dragon is now less than 40 meters away from space station. In fact, it's now 37 meters and closing away from docking. You're getting a good view right now of the trunk with those solar arrays that we chatted about earlier. Once Dragon does dock, it will be receiving its power from the International Space Station. And you can also see some of those small thruster firings as we continue to close in on docking, just making sure everything is precisely aligned and that Dragon is directly in front of the International Docking Adapter. We're about 20 seconds away from waypoint 2 arrival. Point, you may hear a call called CHOP, and that stands for the crew hands-off period. While everything has been done autonomously today so far, when we do hear that call CHOP, it means that any re-rendezvous would need to be done automatically through Dragon, and the crew would not be initiating any of that. We are 16 meters away from the International Space Station. On the left is Crew Dragon Endurance coming in for docking. On the top right with its nose cone deployed is the Crew Dragon Freedom that is currently docked to the International Space Station and is the vehicle that Crew 4 will return home on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see, excuse me, both two Dragons really in the same shot. Once again, the Crew 5 vehicle there on the left, making its docking approach, which we're expecting in under 10 minutes. And then, of course, the Crew 4 vehicle there on the previous shot on the right-hand side. As we get closer, we can see more and more of the Dragon vehicle. For those of you wondering what those 4 black circles are, those are the forward Draco thrusters.
SpaceX copies 10 meters.
And 10 meters away from space station now. And if you look at the Dragon capsule, you can actually see the side Draco thrusters thrusting, helping to steer Dragon closer to station accurately.
And hearing we're just a couple of minutes away from docking, should be coming up just momentarily. Dragon now traveling less than 1 meter per second as it closes in for docking.
As you said before, Sandra, slow and steady wins the race here.
Less than 10 meters separating Dragon from the space station.
Copy, 5 meters.
And that call 5 meters separating Dragon from space station. Should be about a minute until we are docked and Crew 5 is home for the next few months. Should hear that call for chop here momentarily.
2 meters, chop.
And there it was.
Copy, 2 meters.
2 meters, crew hands off point. Happens about 25 seconds before contact.
1 meter.
1 meter.
Dragon,
capture.
SpaceX on the big loop, contact and soft capture complete. Attenuation in progress.
And contact
I can
confirmed.
copy, GPS.
Dragon made contact with the International Space Station at 2:01 p.m. Pacific, just off the west coast of Africa.
Now, there are still a few steps that Dragon has to complete before it is securely attached to the station. So we are going to walk through those. We're going to have completion of that SOP capture ring retraction, and then we're going to begin the hard capture sequence. And then a few minutes after that, some time passes, that we will have completion of that hard docking.
Dragon, SpaceX, ring retraction in progress.
So there is that first thing I mentioned, that ring retraction for soft capture.
And that soft capture ring will retract until its sensors indicate that it is time for the hooks to drive and create a hard capture. There are 12 hooks that are going to be driven to form that hard mate, and they take place in a series of 6. So the first 6 will drive, and then the second 6 will drive.
Just like everything about the approach this morning, everything is in sequence. Now you might notice the view of Dragon is a little darker than it was before as it was coming in. Of course, the station and now Dragon are orbiting Earth, and it looks like they are lost the sunlight there. Live view there from SpaceX Mission Control, based here in Hawthorne, California.
And so if you are just tuning in with us, Crew 5 has safely completed docking to the International Space Station. That docking occurred at 4:01 p.m. just off the west coast of Africa. Their journey began yesterday afternoon when they lifted off at 11 a.m. Central Time from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Currently seeing a live view of Dragon Endurance docked to the forward port of the Harmony module.
Big loop for comm, just providing some awareness. I think we've got spotty TDRS coverage and have for some time. We can stick on the big loop for the continued coordination here. You are go for 4.400 for cabin configuration.
Decimal 1, ingress. And let's put that work now, thanks.
Houston, copy.
Currently seeing dual boxes, the Dragon Endurance attached to the space station on your left, and that's astronaut Chill lingering inside the International Space Station as he continues preparations for Crew 5's ingress into the space station. Again, we're looking for ingress to be about 35 minutes from now, looking at 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 6:42 p.m. Eastern.
All right, you have a go to perform step 3.6, and we'll take the gas detector reading from inside the vestibule.
Copy, go on 3.6, and we'll give you a gas detector reading from inside the vestibule.
Houston copies.
And that was Capcom, Amy Dill, to the crew on the big loop, telling them that they could take some readings for the vestibule. Still in those operations, preparing for the hatch opening, still scheduled now for 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 6:42 p.m. Eastern Time. And you're currently seeing views from a camera inside the vestibule. The astronauts aboard the ISS have put a camera facing them to be able to watch as the crew ingresses from Endurance Dragon. The crew inside of Dragon Endurance are installing some IMV ducting, mixing the air of the space station environment with the air inside of Crew Dragon Endurance. They'll seal some of the LiO or lithium hydroxide cartridges that scrubbed carbon dioxide inside of Dragon capsule on the ride to the International Space Station, and they'll check some vent valves as well, so maybe just a little bit more time until we welcome them on board the International Space Station. And here we come through. First one through the hatch is going to be Nicole Mann, commander of Dragon, and now the first Native American woman to live and stay aboard the International Space Station. All hugs and smiles going around. Next one through the hatch is Josh Cassada, the pilot of Dragon. He's getting his welcome and hellos from the crew aboard International Space Station. And we see right now right past Nicole Mann's hair is Koichi Wakata of JAXA coming through the hatch. And last but not least, Anna Kikina of Roscosmos just entered the International Space Station, and Crew 5 is officially ingressed from Dragon Endurance into their home for the next 6 months, the International Space Station. And with the addition of Crew 5 on board, there is currently 11 astronauts inside the International Space Station. And that was an incredible day and a 29-hour rendezvous for the Crew 5 crew after launching successfully yesterday from the launch complex at Kennedy Space Center, Launch Complex 39A, at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 Eastern. The crew docked at 4:01 p.m. Central Time, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. And just moments ago, at 5:49 p.m. Central Time, the hatch from Dragon Endurance was opened, and we just saw Crew 5 welcomed aboard the International Space Station.